Hey girls, Kaylee here. Today I have a tutorial for some flower girl kind of bohemian inspired hair and for this little flower crown that my girl is wearing. So we're going to start off with the hair because it's pretty easy. She has pretty wavy / curly hair naturally, so we're just going to kind of work with that. And I went ahead and parted her hair over to the side and then got started. Basically, we're going to take this 3/4 inch Eber curling iron and wrap random pieces of hair around it. I didn't section this at all, just because I kind of wanted that messier look. And then afterward, I went ahead and, you guessed it, pinned the curl back up. Now, see, the thing is with little girl hair, it's really hard to get it to hold a curl usually. So what I did to combat that was to go ahead and pin it back up. If you are trying to do a flower girl's hair, I really recommend this because I see lots of moms trying to do their flower girl's hair and it's just not coming out well because they're only relying on hairspray. Try pinning it back up while it's cooling. It helps a lot more than that. So go ahead and continue wrapping, and I did this in random sections, just wrapping around, trying to kind of go at like one level all the way around and then go down another level, and then after I finish that level, go down another level. But I just did the random sections just because I wanted it to look kind of random and natural, and also because if you're working on a little kid, you don't have time to do all the sectioning. And then you go ahead and let it all down once it's all cooled. I also think it's a good option to use a curling wand when you're working on a younger child or somebody that you're doing that hair on, because then the hair isn't clipped into the iron, so if they start moving around, you can kind of get the iron out of the hair a little bit faster and easier. So that's just my little PSA for you guys. But anyway, once you've got that down, if it looks a little bit too perfect to you, you can go ahead and just run your fingers lightly through it, which is what I'm doing here, just because I wanted to break up those curls just a tiny bit, not even a lot. And then I went ahead and scrunched them up and sprayed them with just a bit of hairspray. You don't want to go over the top. Well, actually, never mind. I'm kind of going over the top here. But you don't want to completely rely on the hairspray. And then let it dry while it's scrunched, and then let it down. And repeat that on the other side. And then you put in your little flower crown. And on each side of this little applique, there's going to be little loops that you're going to pin through. But make sure that you kind of lift up the hair a little bit so that the top doesn't look kind of flattened to the head. And then go ahead and pin through those little loops to hold it in place, because you know those little girls are going to be running around and you want to make sure it's secured to the head. And that is it for that. Now for the crown, you're going to want to start off with a lace applique, which you can find just about anywhere, and then some dry baby's breath, which I found from SaveOnCrafts.com. Then some wire, you can choose whatever gauge you want, and then some cloth tape. So you're going to start off with your applique, and basically I made a little loop with the wire through the end of the applique. I didn't want to take it off and do it again, so basically I'll just tell you about it. You're going to take the wire and basically stab it through the end of the applique, and then you're going to take some needle nose pliers and make just a little loop around the end so that it will hold it in place. I actually made this crown and then took it apart and made it again for this tutorial, so I didn't want to take the wire out. I was afraid of damaging, so this is why I did it that way. Basically, you just make a little loop through the end of the applique. It will hold it in place. Then break off some kind of larger bunches from your baby's breath, and then break those into smaller little chunks like this. You're going to need about 20 of those to start off with, and so go ahead and just break those apart before you get started. It makes it a little bit easier as you're going through, but you can always do this as you go if you want to. And then you're going to go ahead and take your cloth tape, and you're going to kind of pull out about a 4-inch section, tear that in half, or tear it off, and then you're going to tear it in half, and then tear those halves in half again, and that's about the size that you want. And it kind of helps to go ahead and get a lot of those done. So then take your first little bunch and place it right next to the lace applique on the wire. Then you're going to go ahead and just wrap some of that cloth tape around the base of that to hold it in place. And it kind of helps if you offset it a little bit so that it kind of wraps diagonally. That way you cover more of the flower stems and hold it on just a little bit better. Especially with that first one, you want to make sure it's taped down really well. And then you're basically going to continue doing that for the entire thing. You're going to take your next little piece and position it just below the piece that you put on before, and then tape around and hold it in place again. Now, this tape actually holds really well. It might seem a little flimsy, but this is quite sturdy. I'm not worried about this being on a little girl's head at all. I'm sure it's going to hold up well. So basically, you're just going to continue doing that until you reach the middle of that wire. And then once you're at the middle of the wire, we're going to switch to the other side. And then once you're on the other side, you basically just want to make sure that you're kind of keeping it the same density that you have on the other side, because you don't want the two sides to look completely different. They are going to be kind of like sisters, not twins, but you just want to make sure that they're not like, you know, distant cousins or something. Like, you want them to match pretty well. So then once you've got them both pretty close to the middle there, you're going to see that the ends kind of stick up. So go ahead and tape those down. And you can see that when I say getting to the middle on both sides, it's that the stems of the flowers are to the middle. And then once you've got that to that point and you've kind of taped down the stems, you're going to put a bunch on one side and tape it down, and then switch to the other side and put a bunch on that side until you have the flowers almost touching. This little last part's a little tricky, so I'm kind of showing you every little step here just to make sure that we get it. So then you can see that I'm switching to the other side and putting another little bunch on that one. And then again, I'm going to switch to the other side. And I'm going to keep doing this until they're basically almost touching. And you want to make sure that if you have any funny little bits like this, you can just kind of break them off. It's okay. That way they aren't sticking out and making it look weird. And then I'm placing one on the other side. And you also want to make sure that you're breaking off the stems as you're doing that after you've taped them. And then this is my last one on this side. And then once you've got that last one in place, you're going to place one bunch on one side of it and one bunch on the other. And then you're going to kind of lift up that last one that you did on the one side and put a very skinny piece of tape around underneath that. Now I actually had to go back and use a skinnier piece of tape, but at least with this fat tape you can see what I was doing. I just went ahead and wrapped it around those two stems and made sure it was taped in place and broke off the stems that were kind of hanging out. And that is it. You've got your little flower crown. So I hope you guys like this. I think it's really, really great and whimsical and bohemian, and I'm just excited. So I hope you guys like it as well. Leave me a comment below if you like to do it yourself, and check out my other wedding videos that are coming up. I'll see you guys later. Bye!